In 1220, the city of Bukhara stood as one of the jewels of the Silk Road, 50,000 souls protected by walls 30 feet high. The Mongols hadn't even arrived yet. The defenders surrendered to ghosts, to rumors, to an enemy that existed only in their imagination. This is the story of how Genghis Khan built the largest contiguous empire in human history, by making fear do the killing for him. They didn't just conquer cities, they conquered minds. And the mind, once broken, can never fortify itself again. Genghis Khan was not born a conqueror. He was born powerless, a boy who watched his father poisoned, his family scattered, his childhood stolen. But powerlessness teaches lessons that privilege never can. It taught him that strength isn't measured in swords, it's measured in perception. When he unified the Mongol tribes, he asked his generals a question no emperor had dared to ask. How do we win wars we never have to fight? The answer was elegant, surgical, psychological. Before the Mongols attacked a region, they sent merchants ahead, not to trade, but to plant stories. Tales of cities erased in a single night, of pyramids built from skulls, of survivors' tongues cut out so they could only scream the terror, never describe it. The genius? Most of it was fiction, calculated exaggeration. But the stories were engineered with one purpose, to make surrender seem like mercy. Sun Tzu had written it 5 centuries earlier. The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. But Genghis Khan perfected it. He didn't invent psychological warfare, he industrialized it. But here's where the strategy turns monstrous, because fear only works if occasionally proven true. When a city did resist, the Mongols made sure the consequences became legend. Nishapur resisted in 1221. Every living soul, over 1.7 million people historians claim, was executed. The city was razed so completely that its location was lost to history for centuries. The Mongols let exactly one person escape, on purpose. That survivor carried the story. And the story did something no army could. It made the next 10 cities surrender without resistance. This is the calculus of terror. One massacre, strategically publicized, can save 1,000 battles. One horror, properly amplified, becomes a weapon that never dulls. Machiavelli would later write, "It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both." But he added a warning most forget. Cruelty well used, he wrote, is exercised once, for all, to secure one's power, and then converted into the greatest possible benefit. The Mongols understood this 6 centuries before Machiavelli was born. One atrocity, infinite leverage. But the true brilliance wasn't what the Mongols did to cities. It was what they did to the city's leaders. Imagine you're a ruler. Reports arrive daily. Armies 20 times the size of yours, destroyed in days. Empires that lasted centuries erased in months. You've never seen a Mongol, but you've heard the stories. And in the space between rumor and reality, your mind fills in the blanks with nightmares. Every night you lie awake, imagining what they'll do to your family, your people, you. Then the message arrives. Surrender, and your people will be spared. Resist, and you will become a story we tell the next kingdom. You're not choosing between victory and defeat. You're choosing between death now or death later. Between seeing your children die screaming or watching them live as slaves. The choice was never real. The Mongols made sure of that. By the time the Mongols arrived, the war was over. The mind had already surrendered what the body would soon follow. In 80 years, the Mongols conquered more territory than the Romans did in 400. Not because they had more soldiers, but because they needed fewer. When Genghis Khan died in 1227, his sons asked, "How do we maintain the empire?" He gave them his final lesson. You don't maintain it with warriors, you maintain it with memory. Keep them afraid, and they'll govern themselves. And for decades after his death, they did. The Mongol peace, the Pax Mongolica, was enforced not by garrisons, but by the ghost of what the Mongols could do if provoked. It was the most peaceful period the Silk Road ever knew, held together by the memory of terror. The Mongol Empire collapsed in the 1300s, but the strategy? It never died. Today, we call it different names. Information warfare, psychological operations, Strategic communication. We dropped the Mongol name, but we kept the Mongol playbook. Every viral panic, every threat amplified beyond reason, every enemy made monstrous in our imagination, so we'll support any action to stop them. Genghis Khan didn't invent this, he just proved it works, and we've been perfecting it ever since. So here's the question you need to ask yourself. When you share that story designed to terrify, when you amplify that threat, repeat that rumor, spread that panic, are you resisting the Mongols or riding with them? Because the empire of fear never ended, it just changed horses, and you're carrying its message.